Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and we've got something a little bit different here. I've got my dog with me because I'm feeling sad. No way back for Manchester United. And I wanted to just record something a little bit different that's not dependent on topical news, that's not driven by rant or rage. I wanted to just sit back and do this piece because I've actually find myself 24 hours on from Amorim being sacked quite sad about it because I don't believe there is a way back for Manchester United anymore. And that might be a very unique position to be in. Some of you might agree with it, some of you might relate to it, but I don't believe there is a way back for Manchester United anymore because I think that when you sack a manager that you were gonna back for 3 years and you sack him because he calls you out, not because of results, and also you sack him despite the fact you've not backed him to do the project you brought him in to do, it sort of makes me go, well, I don't trust anything that they're going to do. I don't understand anything they're trying to do. And I don't trust, as I said, anything they're going to do. So for me, I think fundamentally, I'm sort of sat here jealous of those United fans that are celebrating this sacking and optimistic about the future, because I don't see how we can be optimistic about a future where we're basically unable to believe the integrity of anything we're being told by this board or ownership, because everything they've said to us in the last 2 years has proven to be wrong. Now, I'm not saying the intention wasn't right. I mean, maybe they have lied, maybe they haven't lied, but they're certainly incompetent. So I sort of question, if you brought in a Glasner or a De Zerbi or a Carrick or a Pochettino, how would they be in a different position in 18 months? Because what it seems to be is that obviously the time that Amorim got was less than Ten Hag and Ollie and other managers. However, they still ended up in the same position. You can have a reasonably good first 18 months and then you hit the pressure point. They can't follow through on any project. The Glazers can't follow through on any project, and it appears Ineos can't get anywhere near it. Ineos took on the biggest project of all to change the formation, system and mentality of the football club, and they've cancelled it. And I think that, ultimately I was very demanding of Amorim, but I wanted him to be given the season. I didn't want him to be sacked in January. I agreed with giving him the season and backing him in January, and they have abandoned that project. I agreed with Ruben Amorim removing bad apples, as Ollie called them, like Sancho and Garnacho. I agreed with moving Rashford on because he needed to be moved on. I agreed with moving Anthony. I agreed with him not selecting Mainu if he doesn't want to select him, even though I wanted him to, because I'm not the manager. And I think we have sort of got lost in the fact that these people are paid to manage and they must be allowed to follow that project through if the board has brought them in for a project. Now, we haven't done that. So why would I trust any other project? I don't believe they've got the finances to support any manager. I think the fundamental change that would make me feel optimistic is ownership. But I'd love people in the chat to get involved and tell me what there is to be optimistic about, because I think I can find an answer to everything and tell you, well, no, that won't work. That won't work. We're in £1 billion of debt. We've absolutely, factually got a bunch of people who don't know anything about football in relation to taking Manchester United back to the top. We're basically creating a dictatorship that's run by morons and learner drivers. And, at the end of the day, if you are the best manager in the world, but you've got incompetence above you and laziness below you, then you will fail. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, look, I'm not going to rant and rave about 24 hours of, leaks to journalists from players and the club, because that's the way they operate. I couldn't care about any of this spin really, because it's spin. It doesn't change the fact that since the sacking of Sir Alex Ferguson, which was 13 years ago, not the sacking of Sir Alex Ferguson, the removal of Sir Alex Ferguson, or the retirement of Sir Alex Ferguson. God, Sir Alex is a goat. But since Sir Alex Ferguson left, for 13 years we've failed. We've got nowhere near that level of success that we had for the previous 30 years. So I think that I'm just crestfallen and confused and worried about where we're heading as a football club, because I don't see a way back. And look, some of you might see a way back being the occasional Champions League qualification, the occasional FA Cup. That's not Manchester United to me. That might be Spurs, and it might be Newcastle, But it's not Manchester United. And if that's what we are now, the occasional Champions League and an FA Cup, then the Glazers truly have won, because you're still going to buy shirts, you're still going to pack out Old Trafford, they're still going to make the money on lower expectations and standards. I don't know why there is no reaction to Sir Jim Ratcliffe from the wider media, journalists and ex-players. I don't know why the fan base isn't in uproar, considering we've protested for a lot less. I don't know. That's, answers on a postcard. What I do know is how I feel. And I feel that this great club, that means so much to so many of us, is on its arse and it ain't getting up. Because to get up, you can't do it when it's straddled by that much debt and that much incompetence. And the scary thing about the sacking of Amorim is I understand it. I understand why fans wanted him to be sacked, but they didn't sack him for that reason. And I find it quite tiresome that we've got fans out there basically saying that, oh yeah, I'm so happy about it. But they didn't sack him for your reason. They sacked him because he actually did something you wanted. He called out the board. He wanted transfers, which we all, absolutely categorically agree with that we need. So I think that looking at it, the scariest thing about this whole Amorim episode is that they decided to give him £15 million rather to sack him than to give him £25 million, which they've got, to give him players that he needed in that midfield. I mean, I don't understand why you're halfway through a project and you abandon it to start another one. I don't understand that, and I don't understand why we keep doing it. It's almost like they went, we're bringing this guy in to do something revolutionary that this club's never done before in relation to system, how we want to play and what we want to build. And we're going to ruffle a few feathers. We're going to remove, very important players like Marcus Rashford and Garnacho. We're going to root out the problems in the club. We're going to rebuild everything. And then they go halfway down the road and go, this is quite difficult, and stop. Like, it's difficult to rebuild Manchester United. It's very difficult. And if you start listening to external noise from the fans, ex-players, the journalists, the media, then you're never going to succeed. The problem we've got, clearly, is that Amorim was set up to fail because he's got people above him who are not very good at their job. And when you remove somebody that, Amorim wasn't great, but he spoke a good game. I've never heard Barada, Wilcox or Sir Jim talk with any idea that they know what Manchester United Football Club's all about. That's what worries me. We've probably removed the guy that spoke the most sense to be kept with the people who make the worst decisions. So, look, I pity the next manager. I pity the next manager, because we'll get the razzmatazz, we'll get all the 3-year plans, but he's coming in. I mean, there are players still here from Louis van Gaal. There are players here from Mourinho. There are players here from Ollie. There are players here from Ten Hag. And there are players here from Amorim. And then you've got to get him his players. He's got to, he's not going to get the money to have the open heart surgery that Ranić said about years ago. And he's not going to get the patience. I think this is the worst thing that's happened to Manchester United in the last 13 years, because we've sacked a manager after 12 months halfway through a project. We've gone weak, we've gone cowardly, we've backed off from what we said we were going to do, and nobody can trust this ownership anymore. So when people talk about a way back, you can't trust anything they say. Anything they say, you can't trust. Anything they do or say they're going to do, you can't believe. You can't have an owner saying, this is going to take 3 years, and then 3 months later, they sack him. Like, I understand if he gets sacked at the end of the season because there's no European football, you can deal with the 3 years then. But 3 months, halfway through the season, you just can't believe in anything that they're going to do. And I don't think they believe in it themselves. They don't have the money. It's two separate ownerships, really, when you think about the Glazers and Ineos. Jason Wilcox, can he be trusted now? Everybody knows he fell out with Amorim. So, you can't trust his competence either. He's not going to have the money to turn this around. He doesn't have the authority to demand. He doesn't do good interviews. Barada's in the background like a bloody bank manager. But first and foremost, all that incompetence is going to stay. But for the next manager, how do you get excited about that? How do you get excited about Man United coming back? Because you've still got all these same players here. There's no way we're going to remove all these players. They're still going to be here. Light switch on, light switch off. We're still going to have all these owners and these people on the board here. Incompetence, don't know what they're doing. And then you're going to have a manager that could be the best manager in the world. He might be the perfect fit for Manchester United. He's not going to have the money. he's not going to have the players, and he's not going to have the competence above him. That won't work. The only way back for Manchester United is a reset, and a reset is new ownership. And we're not going to get that. We're not going to get that. So what we're going to get is maybe a little bit of a bump, maybe a little bit of positivity for, a few months, maybe even a year, and then we'll be back here. But the scariest thing of all that nobody has really confronted is that Ruben Amorim didn't want the job in November. He wanted to wait until the summer. He got the job in the November. Obviously, it was very difficult. It's a bad team. There was no money spent in January apart from on a 20-year-old. And by March, some United fans were saying, get this fraud out our club. Hadn't had a pre-season, hadn't had a transfer window, and it was get out of our club. And less than a year later, he is out of the club. So what these weak, cowardly owners have done is bowed to pressure on a project they told us was one they were going to see through. They've also got 2 managers sacked in 18 months, £550 million spent, a director of football sacked. The whole thing just doesn't make any sense. But first and foremost, certain sections of our fan base, well, all of us know, if you kick up a bit of a fuss, you're probably going to get listened to. If you're an ex-player, you're probably going to get listened to. Like, we've sacked a manager on the biggest project we've ever tried to do since Sir Alex after 13 months. And people will say he wasn't the right man and the results were bad. And I agree with that. But if you're doing a project and you're the owners, you don't do it after 13 months. So the next manager, for me, it was a 2 to 3 year cycle. I think now it's a 6 to 12 month cycle. If you're not doing anything in the first 6 months, you're pretty much going to be gone in a year because you're going to lose fans. As simple as that. But yeah, it's impossible. It's mission impossible. Tom Cruise can't do this. We've just spent £500 million on 2 different managers in the last 18 months. And the next manager needs somewhere between £500 million and £1 million. He needs open heart surgery on the squad. And he needs to come with his eyes open to remove certain players that won't happen. And he needs competence above him, and he hasn't got that either. So he's walking into a trap, basically, and I see no way back for this football club, and it's very, very sad. And I'd love to be optimistic. I really, really would, because there's nothing more I want than to see Man United back where they should be. But I don't know. I just feel like there's something sinister going on at the club. It surprises me how people who pretend, do care about the football club, but don't say anything about it. It's strange. Maybe it's because Sir Jim Radcliffe's British. Maybe it's because, they're in with the club. Look, there are certain ex-players who are, linked in with the club, doing interviews with the club, doing stuff in the US. They're never going to say anything because they're earning money and money is their god. But there are others who aren't, who still aren't saying anything. And we do need, honestly, we do need to remove the ownership, and that is not easy to do, but there is no appetite to do it from the people that can really help us. And that's the only way back as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Something a little bit different. If I move over here, you can see. If I move over here, you can see. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Leave me your comments. I want to know what you're optimistic about, or do you agree? Or do you have your own thoughts? Thanks for watching. Take care, subscribe, smash a like, and I'll speak to you on the next one.